guys, today I have a little book review I wanted to share with you all. It seems like forever since I have sat down and done a little book talk, probably because I haven't filmed that much recently, but I'm trying to be good and get back into it. So if you caught my video yesterday that I uploaded, I did put up my September wrap up and October to be read, and if you watched it, then you noticed I talked about this book, which is Vampire Academy by Richelle Mead, and this is part of my October to be read list. I had wanted to read it for October, and I actually finished it today, so I wanted to do a book talk with my mind still fresh. So I have to say I absolutely loved this book. I got through it in about 2 days, and I finished it this afternoon, and immediately after finishing it I got in my car like less than an hour later and I drove to Barnes & Noble and picked up the second one, which is Frostbite. First and foremost, if you have this book and you have not read it or you've been kind of debating reading it, I'm just going to say I highly recommend it. I loved it. So today what I'm going to do is I think a general discussion kind of review for this that is spoiler free. I want to do separate review videos for each book. I asked you guys in my last video and some of you said to do separate videos for all of them. Some of you said to do just one video, and then I had some of you also say to do it for the first 3. Somebody mentioned that, but I think if I do separate videos I'm just going to do all of them. So I'm going to start with the first one as being more of like a spoiler free type of thing, because I know people a lot of times like to watch these to see if they want to read the book, but probably from here on out, like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th will all be more of discussion type of videos. I'm going to start with the covers very quickly, just very quickly. I like these covers a lot. I like how they match with the little gate at the bottom. With the little VA, which is nice, even though the actual book, the Academy, is called St. Vladimir's Academy, and this is VA for Vampire Academy, but it kind of works because if you think of like Vladimir's Academy, that's VA. So I like that, and I also think the most interesting about this for me is the girl. I've seen these books like in the bookstore for years. I've always noticed these, and every time the girl on the front reminds me of like a mixture of Angelina Jolie and Leighton Meester, who is the actress that plays Blair Waldorf from Gossip Girl. And I've always thought that, I don't know what it is, tell me if you guys think that, but she looks like both of them. Like I see both of those girls in her. I think because she's got bigger lips, and Angelina Jolie has like those bigger lips, like if you watch movies with her, and then she just has like a Leighton Meester like an eye, and like I've always thought that, and I even wondered enough about it that I went and I tried to find out who it was on the author's website like months ago, before I even had any interest in reading these, and she said she didn't know. And I know it's neither of those people because they would have released that like somewhere in public, but I was curious. So basically this is centered in what I would consider like a boarding school vampire academy. It's a school strictly for vampires. There's a little bit of a different element to this story compared to some of the other vampire stories, because not only does this have vampires, but it also has what they call dampers. I think that's how it's pronounced, and these are people who protect the vampires. So this particular time and like place of the setting features like high school age range students. They're all like 16, 17, 18, but I believe that the school has like an elementary section too for kids when they're younger. I think they go to school their entire life, so it's centered around the high school type of age. And so half of the students live in like the vampire type of dorms, whereas the other dampers are like novices who are in training to become what they call guardians, who end up being the protectors for the vampires. So the vampires are called the Mori. If they're royal, they have both royal vampires and non-royal. So basically there's like a bunch of royal family bloodlines, and some of the vampire students are from the royal family, and then some of them are not. And so the Mori, I believe, is only the royal vampires. So they really focus on protecting these people from bad vampires that are called Strigoi. I think that's how it's pronounced as well. I could be wrong about all of this, but that's kind of like the job. So they go in training. So this book is centered around 2 best friends, one named Rose and one named Lissa. And Rose is actually a damper or a novice in training to be protecting a vampire who happens to be her best friend Lissa. She's from a royal family, and she's actually the final bloodline of her family. Her older brother and her parents died 2 years before. And so after they died and a lot of things went down, her and her best friend Rose actually took off and left. Rose and her have this special bond that they kind of are very close. Rose can kind of feel what Lissa's feeling in her mind. She can even like go into Lissa's mind and like see what Lissa is seeing, which the vampire who is Lissa cannot do that to her, but Rose can do that. So Rose has an advantage of how to protect her. They have this special bond, which we learn a lot about in the book. So after this happened, they took off 2 years before the book starts, and then the book starts with bringing them back at the Vampire Academy. They're required to come back, And so basically it starts off with them kind of getting settled back into school. Rose has to train hard and kind of get caught up to be able to protect Alyssa, and then Alyssa's just taking her vampire classes and stuff like that. There's a lot of different elements to this that I really like. The author both includes all of these as well as like romance with a lot of the characters, but she also has like some outside like forces and kind of like conflict that's kind of impacting the characters as well, that kind of adds a lot of different directions for the book. So if you haven't read it yet and you've been interested, definitely check it out. I love it. I think it's a really nice story, and it did originally remind me a lot of House of Night by PC and Kristen Cass, but I actually like it better. I know I've only read the first 2 books of those, and this is, in my opinion, a lot better, but it is very similar to that. So if you like that book, then you'd probably enjoy this. Going into a little bit more about the characters, I'm going to start with Rose, because Rose is the damper who is the protector of her best friend Lissa, the vampire, and the story is told in her point of view. It's first person point of view in her character, so we see inside her head and all that she knows, and she is a very headstrong, aggressive, kind of like very self-righteous character from the very beginning. She is all about protecting her best friend. She doesn't really trust anybody. She won't put up with anybody's crap. Like, she will not tolerate anybody, and it's almost to the point where she's like has no regard for anyone as far as like respect goes, which I was initially caught off guard, and I would consider myself like a more of like an aggressive type of personality, more outspoken. Definitely not afraid to say what I think if I'm like sticking up for something I believe in, or like a friend or something. However, I was a little bit taken aback because I would never like say what she did to like an authoritative figure, or like the head of school or anything like that. So at first I was kind of like, whoa girl, but I like her a lot as the character goes on. I think she grows up a little bit and she matures and she just changes a little bit, so I like her. And I do like her headstrong personality. She's very spunky, and I think at the end of the day, her main interest is protecting her best friend and doing what she's supposed to do. So that's why she is the way she is. Now, Lissa is a little bit more of the opposite of Rose. She's more kind of calm and not timid, but just not as outspoken. She kind of lets Rose do all the talking and take care of her, and she trusts Rose to take care of her, so she doesn't have to do it herself. She's just more like kind of in the background at first, like you don't see as much of her personality, but as the story also goes on, she definitely has some other sides to her that we see. She definitely can be aggressive and can be protective of Rose just as much, and tries to, you know, be her protector and stick up for her. And then she also has a little bit of like an internal struggle. She has some kind of like problems and like almost like self issues that she has to deal with in the book. So Alyssa's a very complex character. She has a lot going on. One more character I want to mention is Dimitri. There are a lot of other really great characters too I could talk about, but I guess I'll talk about Christian too. So I want to talk about Dimitri first. Dimitri is also what they call a guardian, who is a developed version of like Rose. So he has gone through the training. He protects vampires, and he's been assigned to protect Alyssa at this current moment because Rose isn't an actual guardian. And Alyssa is a princess. She's royal, so he is there to protect her. Ends up becoming Rose's mentor and training her how to fight and all of these things. So there's a little bit of a kind of romantic interest that's kind of developing between Rose and Dimitri. Dimitri is a lot older though. He's 24 and Rose is 17, so quite a bit of difference, but he's Russian. And I really like his character. You don't really feel like he's Russian that much in the book. There are some instances where he like talks more like Russian. But I will say his name is kind of creepy. If you guys remember, there was that Disney movie with a vampire guy a long time ago. Like these 2 kids' mom was being like brainwashed by this vampire, and they all went to live at his house. And his name was Dimitri, I'm pretty sure. And he was like creepy. I absolutely love Dimitri in this book. If I had to describe him in one word, my immediate reaction would be sexy, because I think the way she describes him is that. Like, he's very strong, very knowledgeable, very wise, more mature than like high school boys, and like I just love him. He even looks good, like the way she describes him. He's cute. He's just like got the whole deal going. He's kind of mysterious because he's not as involved in their everyday lives because he's not a student. And so I really like him. And there's a little bit kind of like of a petering romance between him and Rose. So I love that. And then one other character I'll mention is Christian, who is Alyssa's kind of romantic interest. He's like an outcast vampire boy who's also a Mori, like royal vampire, but he has been kind of like outcast because his parents went bad, and they had to kill his parents and stuff, so no one really talks to him. But Lissa starts to hang out with him a little bit, and he's a little bit dark, a little bit mysterious, kind of bad boyish, but people don't really know a lot about him. They just think he's dangerous. So Lissa kind of develops a relationship with him, and I definitely like him as the book goes on. We don't see a whole lot about him, but I think he cares about Lissa, and I think he's a good character. I really think like the storyline, like the way vampires are portrayed, this does a great job. And I've read multiple ones. Like I said, I've read House of Night. I've read Blue Bloods by Melissa De La Cruz, which is really good too. But this, I think, is my new favorite. It's up there with Twilight. Different than Twilight, so I can't really compare it to that. But as far as vampire stories go, this one's really good. So if you like those, then check this out. Overall, definitely check this out if you have not read it and you're interested. I love it, and I cannot wait to dive into the second one. So I'd love to hear your all's thoughts if you've read this and you liked it or you didn't like it, or what you think, or whether you want to read it. Was very happy with things, how they ended. I think there was a nice level of suspense, and I'm excited for the second one. So that is all for today's review. I apologize if this was a little bit scattered today, you guys. I have not done a review in a while, and I'm not really that great at them anyways. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and that you've been doing very well. So if you have not seen it, I will be sure to put a link to my last video, which is my September wrap up, in the information box below, because I know a lot of you like to watch those. And that is all for today. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye.